displayed their throats and sported modest jewellery. The men wore decent suits, velvet and satin rather than workers' wool or hemp, silk stockings under their boots, and white wigs on their heads. The indigenous Irish workers the young boy saw in the town, or who served the family in varying capacities, differed mainly from the English labourers and domestics he had known in the unfamiliar language they spoke with each other, or the shawls and tunics worn by some of those coming in from the countryside on market days. There were glimpses, in the streets, of harrowing poverty. In the family living rooms, all was richer and self-consciously elevated. Yet when he reviewed his early life, coming to Dublin for Swift could only mean moving down in the world. Given the circumstances, his opinion of Ireland from, it seems, a very young age is no surprise. Returning to Dublin involved losing the protection of his nurse and the calmer, if no doubt humbler, environment in which she took care of him. But this is by the by. Notwithstanding his difficult infancy, history alone made it likely for a boy of English roots in Ireland to resist being classed a native of that country. The colonists clustered behind boundaries erected or imagined in the cause of protecting their Englishness, as well as their estates. The Pale, literally denoting a fence, was the name the English had long ago given to the horseshoe of territory around Dublin they controlled directly. The border was symbolic, naturally, as well as physical, and had always been reinforced by steady hatred and revulsion towards the other side. The English preferred to maximize the differences in custom and attire they discovered between themselves and the native Irish. Comments on the native Irish residing in Dublin were confined more to their manners, since they were gradually becoming more anglicised in their dress. Out in the Pale, and beyond, a common garment for both men and women was a peasant mantle, which could be worn cowl-like by day and serve as a blanket at night. The mantle always seemed extremely odd to English observers, notwithstanding its versatility. It became a rarer sight, it seems, later in the century. As might be expected, in reality Irish dress was diverse. The better-off women wore red petticoats, which startled and beguiled conservative eyes. They sometimes bleached their hair. Irish gentlewomen traditionally also wore linen hoods, or distinctive rolls of linen on their heads, which could be variously arranged to give complex social signals. Irishmen belonging to the class of scollach, small-holding gentlemen farmers, might be found in a blue swallowtail coat, sturdily tailored, and a fur-lined cloak. Men working outdoors wore rough canvas doublets that reminded one observer of a saddle-pack. Those lucky enough to possess one added a woolen overcoat or a rough cloak of goatskin in winter. Trousers were more like leggings, close-fitting, and worn low on the waist. Brogues made from cattle hides were single-soled, more rudely sewed than a shoe, but more strong, sharp at the toe. The men had frieze or fur caps with lappets that buttoned under their chin if need required. It is breathtaking how contemptuously the English wrote about the Irish in the 2 centuries before Swift was born. They defined the indigenous people variously as inhuman, as lazy, as barbarous, in the language they spoke, their oddly non-proprietorial attitude to the land, in their dress, their customs, and their eating habits. As such, the English planters found it easier to justify taking land from the wild Irish, and sometimes massacring them, while insisting all the time that their horror was genuine. The wild and, as I may say, mere Irish, inhabiting many and large provinces, are barbarous and most filthy in their diet. They scum the seething pot with a handful of straw, and strain their milk taken from the cow through a like handful of straw, none of the cleanest, and so cleanse, or rather more defile, the pot and milk. Many of these wild Irish eat no flesh, but that which dies of disease or otherwise of itself. These wild Irish never set any candles upon tables. What do I speak of tables, since indeed they have no tables, but set their meat upon a bundle of grass, and use the same grass for napkins to wipe their hands. The women wash their hands in